Here's something people don't talk about enough. Being in a toxic relationship can feel like loving someone, but slowly, quietly, you start to lose yourself. You might feel trapped, anxious, or like no matter what you do, it's never enough. And before we get started, guys, this content might be triggering for some viewers. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you are in immediate danger or facing any kind of abuse, please seek help from trained professionals, local authorities, or hotlines immediately. Your safety comes first. And welcome back, guys, to Love By. I'm Adria, and today we're going to dive deep into toxic relationships, how to recognize them, why we stay, and most importantly, how to get out safely and reclaim your life. So let's get started. Not every difficult relationship is toxic, right? Every relationship has moments of tension, misunderstandings, or conflict. That's normal. But a toxic relationship is one where harm isn't occasional, it's repeated, consistent, and emotionally draining. Over time, these patterns start to erode your confidence, your peace, and even your sense of self. And here's some of the most common forms of toxic behavior. It looks like constant criticism or belittling. This isn't just a one off comment, right? It's a recurring pattern where you feel like nothing you do is ever good enough. And that's deep. That they may make jokes at your expense, put down your accomplishments, or criticize your choices, leaving you second guessing yourself constantly. It could also look like manipulation and gaslighting. This is when someone twists reality to make you question your perception. You might hear things like, you're overreacting, or that didn't happen. You're imagining it. Over time, then this can make you doubt yourself, your memory, your judgment, and even your sanity. Control over decisions, finances, or friendships. A toxic partner often tries to isolate you from your support system or dictate how you spend your time, money, and energy. It might start small, like disapproving of certain friends. If at whatever moment this is feeling triggering, overwhelming, you guys can step away, pause the video, and enjoy it at a different time, but it's definitely something that we do need to talk about. Control over decisions, finances, or friendship. A toxic partner often tries to isolate you from your support system or dictate how you spend your time, your money, your energy. It might start like something small, like disapproving certain friends, and then it'll escalate into full control over your life. Emotional, it could also be emotionally unpredictable. Extreme highs and crushing lows can leave you on edge constantly. One moment you're loving and attentive, the next moment they're distant, angry, or punishing you. This is like literally like a roller coaster. It keeps you emotionally addicted to their approval while feeling powerless in their absence or anger. If you notice these patterns constantly in your relationship, it's not just a rough patch. Your feelings of anxiety, stress, or confusion are valid. They are signals that something is wrong. And research could show us that nearly 1 in 2 adults report being in at least one toxic relationship in their lifetime. That means almost half of us have experienced this in some form. If you're feeling it, you're not alone, and this is not your fault. Toxic patterns develop gradually, often disguised as love, care, or normal relationship dynamics. Imagine dating someone who apologizes profusely one day, promising they'll change only to blame you for everything the next. Over time, you notice yourself walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid conflict. You begin questioning your own sense of reality. Did I imagine that? Am I being too sensitive? Am I overreacting? This is the core of a toxic cycle. It's not about love, it's about control, manipulation, and emotional harm. Recognizing this is the first step towards protecting yourself and reclaiming your peace. Here's a question most people don't ask themselves. If the relationship is harming me, why am I here? The answer seems a bit obvious, right? And it's rarely about weakness. Staying in a toxic relationship is often a mix of fear, hope, and emotional patterns that can be hard to break. Understanding these reasons can help you see why leaving feels so difficult and why it's not your fault. Reason number one might be fear of being alone. Being single or alone can feel scary, especially if your identity has wrapped up in the relationship. Some people stay because the discomfort of solitude feels worse than the discomfort of ongoing conflict. An example might be you might think, I'd rather be unhappy with them than face life alone, even though the relationship is always slowly draining. And I talk about individuality in my last episode. If you guys want to stay tuned and watch that. Reason number two might be hope that they'll change. We often cling to the good version of someone, the person they are when they're loving, attentive, or apologetic. Hope can keep us invested long after the relationship has become harmful. Examples might be they promise to improve, and for a few days or a few weeks, things feel okay. But eventually, the same toxic patterns return, leaving you feeling stuck in a cycle of disappointment. Number three might look like emotional dependency, which I think is probably the worst one. Toxic relationships can create psychological bonds similar to addiction. Your brain gets used to the highs and the lows, the approval and the withdrawal. And over time, you crave the moments of affection, even if they come with pain. And some of the examples might look like you might feel like you need them to feel complete, even though the relationship diminishes your self worth. Self blame and internalized responsibility. Abusive partners often make you feel responsible for their moves, their action. Over time, you internalize that blame and think, if I were better, they wouldn't treat me like this. This is a trap. You are never responsible for someone else's harmful behavior. And not trying to normalize it, right? Toxic behaviors often start small and increase slowly. Criticism, subtle control, and dismissive behavior can begin as minor annoyances, right? Over time, they become normalized, and you may not realize just how toxic the relationship has become until the impact is severe. And, you guys can take a moment and ask yourself, am I staying because of love or fear? Am I hoping they'll change even though the pattern repeats? Am I sacrificing my peace for the sake of connection? And research shows that people often stay in toxic relationships due to attachment patterns, learned behaviors from past experiences, and the brain reward system responding to intermittent reinforcement, the good moments. After conflict trigger a dopamine response, making it hard to leave. Think of someone who constantly belittles you, but then has moments of extreme charm and affection. You might forgive them repeatedly because those small moments felt like hope. Over time, you start justifying their behavior. They didn't mean it, or I can handle this. But each time your peace is chipped away a little more. Recognizing why we stay is crucial. It's not about the shame, it's about understanding the psychology behind your choices so you can regain control. Here's the key signs you should pay attention to. Emotional exhaustion. You feel drained after interacting with your partner. Walking on eggshells. You censor yourself to avoid conflict. Isolation. Friends, families, and hobbies are slowly pushed away. Manipulation and guilt. You blamed for things you didn't do. Fear or anxiety. You constantly worried about upsetting them. Low self esteem. You question your worth, your decisions, your identity. And stats will show us that emotional abuse can have lasting impacts on mental health, increasing risk of depression, anxiety, and PTSD like symptoms. Now, let's think about ways to safely get out. Leaving isn't easy. I know this, I understand this, but it's possible and it starts with preparation and support. And I want us to break it down. So, here are some steps of how you can create a safety plan to get out. Step one, acknowledge reality. Stop denying or making excuses. Name the patterns and admit they're harmful. Step two, seek support. Talk to friends, family, or a professional. Being isolated increases risk and slows healing. Step three, set boundaries. Start small. Limit calls or visits. Block toxic behavior online and decide what you won't tolerate. Step four, make a plan. If you live together, share finances, or have children, plan your exit carefully. This could include saving money, finding alternative housing, or speaking with legal authorities. Step five, take action. Communicate your decisions clearly and calmly. Follow through as long as it's safe. Step six, protect your mental health. Detox from the relationship, therapy, journaling, meditation, reconnecting with supportive friends. Focus on self care and rebuilding your confidence. And just for a safety note, if there's any threat of physical violence, prioritize your safety. In the US, you can call 1-800-799-SAFE or the number 7233 for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Once you're out, it's not about just leaving them, it's about rediscovering you, regaining your power, reconnecting with old hobbies and passions. Set goals independently of your ex partner. Surround yourself with people who uplift you and encourage you. And remember, you deserve a relationship that feels safe, nurturing, and empowering. Ask yourself, what's one thing I want to rediscover about myself? And I think it's also important to remember that even after leaving that toxic relationship, that toxic cycle, many people feel into or fall into traps like reminiscing, replaying memories instead of moving forward, returning to the relationship, going back to that honeymoon phase and sticking to that. Self blame. Remind yourself you did not cause the abuse and you are not responsible for their actions. And healing is non-linear. Some days will feel stronger than others, and that's okay. But it's important to break free from a toxic relationship is one of the bravest acts of self-love. Remember, leaving isn't about weakness, it's about strength. You are reclaiming your life, your peace, and your future. Breaking free from a toxic relationship isn't easy, but choosing yourself is one of the bravest acts of love you can do. You deserve relationships that lift you, not tear you down. Take a moment. What boundary will you set today to protect your peace as long as it's safe? Thank you for watching and for showing up for yourself. Your story, your healing, and your growth matters. Share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who you might inspire. And remember, you are strong, you are worthy, and you deserve love that feels empowering and real. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.